This is the Kevin Trudeau Show.
I am exposing the corruption in government and in major multinational corporations. We're telling you the things that they don't want you to know that will make your life better.
Welcome to the Kevin Trudeau Show. I'm Kevin Trudeau on location, a secret location. Can't tell you exactly where, but all I can say that it's far, far away. We have a great show today. Thank you for joining me. We got some powerful stuff on today's show, so make sure you stay tuned for the entire show because I got a lot of things I want to talk about, and these are things that you're not hearing in the mainstream media that's going to help you improve the quality of your life. I'm going to talk about some things that are being done to you by the privileged elite class to control you, to keep you a slave, to keep your understanding of your standard of living and quality of life in some fog. You're walking around thinking everything is great. My life is really good when it really isn't, and your quality of life and standard of living is continuing to go down. And unless you come out of this trance, you and your kids and your grandkids are just going to get worse and worse and worse, not just in America, not just in Canada, but all across the world, with the exception of third world countries. Now, if you're watching in a third world country and you're very poor right now, I have good news for you. Your standard of living and quality of life is going to be getting better over the next 10 to 20 to 30 years. It'll never be spectacular, but you'll be thinking that it's really great. That's how you are being hypnotized by the mainstream. And I'll give you an example of how you're being hypnotized by the mainstream to make things seem very perfectly okay. One of the things that the privileged elite class want to do is they want to eliminate religion. If you are a Muslim, they want to eliminate your belief in Allah and your belief in following the requirements of praying 5 times a day, going to the mosque, adhering to Ramadan, eating halal, etc. There's a lot of kind of rules, if you will, or traditions that Muslims face, and the privileged elite class want to eliminate this and make it completely acceptable to do all the things that your religious traditions tell you are not good for your life and not good to help you in the afterlife when you leave this body going to heaven. If you are a Christian, the privileged elite class hates Christians, and they hate more than any Christian Catholics. And some Christians say Catholics aren't Christian. Well, Christian is somebody who believes that Christ is the Savior. So if you believe that Christ is the Savior, however you define that, then that's a Christian. Whether you're a Methodist or an Episcopalian or a Lutheran or a Catholic or an Orthodox, Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, etc. They all follow Christ, Jesus, the New Testament. So we'll call that Christianity as a whole. You could be a full gospel Christian. You could be an evangelical Christian. You could be Assemblies of God Christian. It doesn't matter. A non-denominational Christian. The privileged elite class absolutely 100% hates Christians and hates anybody who picks up a Bible and quotes the Bible or lives their life based on biblical teachings. Why? Because those people who fall into that category can see through what the mainstream media is doing and the privileged elite class is doing to take our society and just lower the standards of what is acceptable and moral behavior. Throughout history, societies have had mores or morals, things that the society at that time, and it changed from time to time, said this is the moral agreements. For example, in some cases during history, if you look in the Old Testament, the books of Moses, It was an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. So if I stole your cow, okay, you owed me a cow. So it was tit for tat. It was one for one. If you killed somebody, then you're dying. End of story. Period. No question about it. So it was really one for one. And at the time, that was very acceptable behavior. It was also very acceptable behavior at certain times in certain cultures for a man to grab a woman, force himself sexually on her, and take that woman as his property. It's completely acceptable. That was the mores at the time. Now today, that's horrifying. It was also completely acceptable at one time to go into a hospital if you're a doctor and smoke cigarettes. And to have ashtrays in the rooms in all the hospitals so the patients could smoke cigarettes. I mean, that was completely acceptable behavior. Now it's absolutely outrageous. People smoke cigarettes on airplanes, in restaurants, everywhere. And in every home, there was ashtrays, and it was completely acceptable for me to walk into your house and stink it all up with cigarettes or cigar smoking or whatever. Now that's outrageous that you would even consider that. So on and on and on, the mores have changed. One of the ways that the privileged elite class reduce your acceptability of what is morally acceptable and so forth, just saying, yeah, everything is morally acceptable. It's completely okay. No problem whatsoever, is to mock the things that have the highest respect, the things that you revere the most, respect the most, mock those things. And if we mock them enough in the most sacrilegious ways, this will reduce your ability to virtually know the difference between right and wrong. And this will create a virtual lawless society. And we're seeing it today. And I'm going to talk about crime is off the charts. It's like nothing we have ever seen in 100 years or 200 years. So it's just all over the world, not just in America. What is acceptable behavior is off the charts. And it starts with doing things like they just did in the Olympics. This is not being talked about in the mainstream media at all, which itself is absolutely shocking. But it's not shocking because the mainstream media is not going to talk about this. You had the Paris Olympic organizers put together a show, the opening show of the Olympic Games. What is the purpose of this show? If you look back at the Olympic Games opening ceremonies, the show, I remember watching the one in Canada. And in Canada, they had a celebration of all the different cultures in Canada. And I remember they had all these different groups come out during the dancing and the singing portion, where they were talking about the native groups that, the Indian or native groups of Canada. And they would bring out all these different cultural things to say, listen, Canada is a kind of like a melting pot. It started off with indigenous people. Let's celebrate them. Let's celebrate the French culture. Let's celebrate the Asian cultures, because a lot of people in Vancouver came over from different parts of the Pacific Asia region, whether it's Japan or China or et cetera, et cetera. And I remember watching this thinking, dude, this is a beautiful thing. You have all these different cultures being celebrated and with respect. Every culture was shown in a positive light. No, they weren't denigrating any other culture. They were just highlighting each culture in a beautiful way. I remember when I was in Australia, at Sydney, Australia, when the Olympics were there. They did a beautiful job of it was positive, it was upbeat, it was celebrating life and celebrating athleticism and celebrating the culture of Australia, because all of these opening ceremonies are supposed to celebrate the culture of that country. If you look at all of the celebrations or opening ceremonies in the Olympics, they celebrated the country in which was the host country. Australia celebrated Australia. Canada celebrated Canada. I remember these too particularly. And I was really looking forward to seeing France celebrate the French culture. Part of that is food, okay? So I'm thinking, how are they going to celebrate the food, the French culture of food? And part of that is the beautiful language, the love of life of the French with the language that is just filled with beauty. And it's just such a lovely, eloquent, musical language that touches your heart and soul. And I'm thinking, wow, how are they going to celebrate the French history? France did a lot of wonderful things. Sure, every country did a lot of bad things too, with colonization and so forth. But at the end of the day, let's celebrate all the positives, okay? So I was really looking forward to it. And then they have all of these transvestites, all of these homosexuals, and I guess they're celebrating France, saying France has huge amounts of homosexuals, drag queens, transvestites, transsexuals, and we're celebrating that because it's such a huge part of the daily French culture. I don't know. I have been to France. I did not find that was a huge part of the daily culture of the average French citizen. I don't think that was the case. I don't think if you live in France, that is the case. That every day you are involved with transsexuals, transvestites, drag queens, homosexuality as part of your culture. Drinking wine is part of your culture. Eating food is part of your culture. Having arguments with people and talking about things is part of your culture. Art and beauty is part of your culture. Dance is part of your culture. Isn't that the daily French culture? I don't know. But the most outrageous thing is part of the culture of the French, according to the opening ceremony, is the French hate Catholics and hate Christianity. I guess all the French people spit on the Bible and spit on Christianity because they made a mockery. They took the Last Supper and they had the Last Supper mocked with transvestites, drag queens, in this disgusting way. Now, by the way, I have no problem going to a show. I've been to Moulin Rouge. I've been to the other place there. I can't remember the name of it offhand, but there's two of them over there. Crazy Horse, I think, or something. But there's a couple shows over there where they have flowery people and kind of drag queenish, not the whole show, but as part of it, and it's flowery and it's nice music and dancing. And I'm not a prude or anything like this. There's no issues with that. And even in the opening ceremonies, I still don't think that would be appropriate for the majority of people. But I guess they're trying to say that, we don't discriminate against anybody. And that's okay. I have no issue with that. But to mock Catholicism and to mock Christianity in such a blatant way was absolutely outrageous. And what was the point? Why would you do that? I noticed you didn't mock Islam. Why didn't you mock Muhammad? Why didn't you mock Islam? Why didn't you mock Hinduism? Why didn't you mock Judaism? Why didn't you bring out somebody holding a Torah as a homosexual, a transvestite, and made him look like a rabbi? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you make Muhammad a transvestite, a transsexual, homosexual, whatever it is, queer, lesbian? I don't know what all the terms are. And I don't care because I have no judgment toward anybody's sexual preference. I love you all. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other. But why didn't you mock any other religion? Why did you pick Christianity? You know that if you mocked Islam, there would have been bombings all over France. If you mocked Islam, remember what they did to Salman Rushdie? Wrote a book, The Satanic Verses. He's got a hit on him now. He has a price on his head. He's going to be murdered because how dare he mock Muhammad and Islam? So if you, the organizers, had the balls, and you think, well, we're being courageous. We are going into this, taboo area, and we are going to be courageous and show everybody about inclusivity. I don't know what you were trying to. What was the point of mocking the Last Supper and mocking Jesus and mocking Christianity? But if you think that, we wanted to go into this, really? No. You're a bunch of cowards. Why didn't you mock Muhammad? Why didn't you make Muhammad walk on stage as a transvestite or a transsexual or a homosexual like you did Jesus? Because you knew that the Islamic extremists, not the wonderful people who practice Islam, but the small group of wackos, they would come in there and bomb your country. You know that. Think about it. This was disgusting, and it's not being talked about at all. These people need to be held accountable for mocking a religion. They are showing no tolerance, no respect for another person's religious beliefs. These are the same people who say, you need to respect all people's sexual preference. You need to be non-judgmental about somebody's sexual preference. I agree with that. Well, those people who are saying that, how come you're not respectful of somebody's religious preference? You hate anybody who is a Bible-believing Christian. And I'm not saying that you should be a Bible-believing Christian or an Orthodox Jew or a Muslim. The point is, everybody's choice of religious or spiritual traditions or followings should be respected, don't you think? Or should you just mock them and make fun of them and tell them they're stupid because they're following Jesus? they're low IQ idiots. There's a lot of brilliant high IQ people with PhDs that are multi-billionaires that follow religions that a lot of people think are goofy, like, Mormonism. And then they made a whole thing, the Book of Mormon, which made fun of the Mormon religion, a Broadway play. Really? Why don't you make a Broadway play making fun of Muhammad and Islam? I dare you. You know why you won't do it? Because you'll be assassinated by the wacko extremist Islamists. Not the lovely, wonderful people who practice Islam, which I love those people. I love people everywhere, without exception, without condition. Even the wackos, quite frankly. I don't like their actions, but we have to be tolerant. What you did, what those organizers did at the Olympics was, in my estimation, a tipping point, a turning point, something that is so outrageous and so evil that they attacked a billion Christians, and they made fun of them. And they said to the world, we think Christianity is a joke. Puh! To Jesus, puh! To all Christians. We think you're all a joke. We think you're all stupid. And we're going to spit on your Bible. We're going to spit on Jesus. We're going to laugh in your face. And we're going to mock you around the planet. In the opening ceremonies of the Olympics, it was absolutely outrageous and shocking. If you don't see what the elites are doing to corrupt your mind, reduce the standard of living in this country and in countries all around the world, you really are still in that trance. And I'll give you another example of this. One of the things that these idiots, I love calling people idiots when they're not in a position to defend themselves, because they're not here. But I'd still call them idiots, but with love and with a smile. Sam Altman is this billionaire founder of OpenAI, and obviously a genius and a super smart guy. But how is it that a genius and a super smart guy can come up with one of the dumbest ideas in the world? There's got to be something more to it. So he came up with the idea, which is basic income. Have you heard about this? Basic income says, A person shouldn't have to work. A person should not feel that they have to work for the basic necessities of life. Food, medical care, transportation, a cell phone, internet so they can use OpenAI. That's a basic necessity of life. And a place to live, with heat and things. And clothing. So these are the basic necessities. So his idea is no one should have to have a job or go out and earn a living to pay for the basic necessities. This should be provided to them by the government. Where they're getting the money, I don't know, but that's his idea. So he said, I think everybody should get a basic income. Like as soon as you're born, you automatically start getting a check from the government every month. And this provides you a basic income. And therefore, you never have to work. And his idea is if people have a basic income, they don't have to worry about food and clothing and a car and a computer and cell phone and internet service. They will have freedom to create unbelievable, wonderful things for the planet. And they will be so motivated to work and do all these amazing things. Really? A recent study on basic income, backed by founder Sam Altman, moron, shows that giving low-income people guaranteed paydays with no strings attached actually causes them to work less. I am shocked. They're lazy people. And now you're going to give them income, and you're saying, and they're going to work more? No, they are lazy, non-motivated people with no goals and dreams, no drive. Even Jesus, who the Olympic people in France spit on, but for those all of you stupid Christians, according to the French Olympic Committee, who actually read the Bible and think there's some valuable information in there, Jesus was asked about the poor, and he said, hey, calm down. We can't give money to the poor. Because they said, why don't we give this money to the poor? And he said, the poor will always be with us. Because they have poor mentality. We can't just give them cash, because unless we change their mentality, they'll always be poor. The poor will always be with us. So this is one of the largest studies ever, and it says some of the questions that the study set out to answer about how people behave when they're given free cash included, do people sit around and play video games, or do they create new things? And the answer was, they sat around and played video games. Like, no kidding. Were they happy and fulfilled? No. Because there was an uneven exchange. They got something for nothing. They didn't earn it. It reduced their self-confidence, reduced their self-esteem, made them have more contempt for society because they're given a free lunch. Basic income recipients spent the money. They didn't invest it. They didn't create anything with it. They just basically did loser mentality. Instead of saying, hey, I get this basic income, I already got my things covered, so let me just invest the money, turn it into more money. No. Guess what they bought? They went and bought porn, cigarettes, alcohol. They spent it on fast food. Because they're stupid broke people. You can't just give them income and think that they're going to change their mentality. That's not how it works. So this goes on and on. But this, again, shows you what the elites are trying to do. They actually are still, based on the study, doesn't matter. They are still promoting, and you'll see this in your lifetime, basic income. Because they know if they give basic income to everybody, everybody will be a slave. They'll basically get demotivated, less motivated, become more clones, drones, sheeple, just follow along doing whatever the privileged elites say. You don't fall into that category, my friends. Because you have some spark inside you that you know exists. You have some drive, some motivation. And I'm going to prove it to you right now. There was a great article that was written about a major study with some really brilliant people, and this went on for decades. And it says that there are subtle signs that show if you are incredibly intelligent. So I am going to give you a test right now, and you can test yourself. If you have a piece of paper, you can jot this down. You can always watch the show later. But this is the test. Tell me, this is going to determine how intelligent you are. It says, number one, are you confident in saying, I don't know? If people around me know me, one thing is I know a lot about a lot of things. But I instantly say, I don't know. Incredibly often when I don't know. Because I don't know. And I have confidence in saying that. Okay, now I'm not going to brag about my intelligence here. I want you to ask yourself, are you confident in saying, I don't know? Hey, Charlie, want to build a barn over here? Can you help me out? Do you have any ideas? Oh, sure, I can help you. Have you ever built a barn? No. Then you should say, I don't know how to build a barn. I've never built one, but I'll be happy to help you out and, add my 2 cents, but I don't know how to build a barn. I've never built a barn. See, that should be the first thing you say. I don't know how to build a barn. I've never built a barn. I mean, we can bang our heads together, maybe come up with something, but I don't know. So how confident are you saying, I don't know? Number two, are you a good problem solver? Even if it's something you have no experience with, do you approach the problem from the right angle? Intelligent people are very good at problem solving, and not only problem solving, but attacking the issue from the right angle, knowing what the real issue is. And this is something that's hard for you to objectively say because you think you're a good problem solver. You think you're coming at the right angle. I've been around people many, many times, and I have a friend of mine who's a genius, and we'll look at a problem, and he says, no, we should look at it this way. And I'm thinking, that's pretty damn smart. He's looking at it from a different angle than most of the other people here in the room. And that's why he's got the highest IQ in the room. People who are very intelligent solve problems very quickly, very efficiently, but most importantly, they come at problems from the right angle. Next, understanding and appreciating nuance. Intelligent people can hold two opposing ideas in their head at the same time. The study went on to say anyone who's willing to do that is very intriguing to others, especially with polarizing issues. People generally think they're very interesting to talk to. So not only does it show you're intelligent when you understand nuance and can have polarizing ideas at the same time and hold them in the same spot in your head, but it also makes you very likable and very approachable, and that means more money in your pocket. Next. Oh, what does this mean? Hold on. There we go. When being taught to do something new, do you care just as much, if not more, about why it should be done a certain way as you do about what needs to be done? This article goes on to say, many people get offended at this when you want to know why something is being done, not just what needs to be done. This particular researcher said, I had a teacher in high school get irrationally angry because I asked why we were doing something a certain way. And they screamed, don't question my authority. Well, how else am I supposed to learn? I always want to know why. Okay, I want you to do this. I remember when I was in prison, dealing with some very unintelligent people working for the Bureau of Prisons. Quite frankly, probably one of the most uneducated group of people on the planet. Some of them are very well-intentioned and do a really great job, but generally speaking, probably not the brightest people. They're working for the government. Many of them are ex-military, and they're just, government staff members who go to work, get their paycheck, get a nice pension. and quite frankly, maybe just don't have that type of super IQ. And I was in the business office, and we had pens. We had pens like this. And there were a bunch of green pens with green ink, bunch of them. And there were pens that had black ink. So I was supposed to fill out these forms, as the government would have you do. Fill out the form, put it in the filing cabinet. And I went in the filing cabinet, just dust everywhere, which means no one ever went into the filing cabinet to look at any of these forms. But the protocol was fill out the form, put it in the filing cabinet. Okay. That's how the government operates. They just do things without any thinking of why are we doing this. So I grabbed the form, I grabbed the pen, and there's tons of pens there. So I just grabbed the pen and I started filling the form out. The supervisor comes over and says, "Hey, you can't use green ink, you have to use black ink." I said, "Why?" "You have to use black ink." And I go, "No, I understand that's what you want me to do, and I'll be happy to do that. I'm just curious, why black ink? What's the difference between black ink or red ink or green ink?" The paper's going to go in that filing cabinet, for which it's going to be there for the next 100 years. No one's ever going to look at it. And what does it matter, even if somebody does look at it, whether it's red ink or orange ink or green ink or blue ink or black ink? What's the difference? Just use black ink. That's stupid. See, that's a stupid person. Are you a stupid person? Don't be stupid. I'm trying to help you. Okay, next. An intelligent person can adapt their communication style, vocabulary, tone, content to fit the situation and people they're talking to, and it seems completely natural. Think about that in your own life. When you're dealing with somebody, maybe they use a big vocabulary, or maybe they don't have a big vocabulary. Do you always communicate exactly the same way, or do you adapt and improvise and modify your communication style with the person you're dealing with? This is critical if you want to get people to like you. If you want them to understand you, if they want to get into sync with you, you have to get into sync with them first. Don't try to get people to understand you. Understand them. That's critical. Getting into step, understanding their communication style is critical. An intelligent person does this innately, automatically, and instinctively. And they do it completely natural. So make a note of that and ask yourself, am I communicating in an effective way or not? Something to consider. Next, are you okay with being perceived as stupid by asking questions? If you hold back in fear, you'll never truly learn. Plus, asking questions is a good way to show others it's okay to question things if you don't understand. We're all better off if we're on the same page instead of hoping things work out without being informed. Intelligent people have no problem asking questions. They have no fear of appearing dumb or stupid. I remember one time I was at a restaurant with a bunch of very wealthy people. We're at this fancy schmancy restaurant. And on the menu was sweetbreads as an appetizer. And I said, "I don't think it's bread that's sweet. I think it's something else, but I don't know what it is." So I said, "Excuse me," to the waiter. I says, I've never had sweetbreads. Exactly what are sweetbreads?" And they went on to describe the organs of the animal that are sweetbreads. And I thought, well, I don't think I want that. And everybody at the table laughed, you know. It didn't make me appear stupid. It made me appear incredibly confident in myself. Think about that. Next. All right. Okay. Someone who is intelligent is able to explain something incredibly complicated in simpler and more readily understood terms. If you think you're intelligent, do you have the ability to take a very complicated concept and explain it in a sentence or two? I remember I was sitting at a dinner with a brilliant fellow named Jay Abraham. Some of you know him. So Jay and I were sitting there, and I love Jay. Matter of fact, I just talked to him a few weeks ago on the phone. So Jay Abraham, brilliant marketing guy, genius, spectacular, love him, wonderful guy. And I was with a couple guys from Nightingale Conning Corporation, and we're sitting down. And I asked Jay some questions, and he was explaining something in great detail. And I was fascinated with what he was saying, and he was really explaining it. And Jay is a very good communicator. He does have a tendency to maybe go a little longer than I would, in terms of brevity. So he was explaining something, and I think it was about 18 minutes where he was talking at the dinner table, which is kind of hard to eat when somebody's talking, when you're talking for 18 minutes, so you can't put food in your mouth. So he was talking, but he was very passionate about what he was talking about, so he was talking for 18 minutes. And I'm sitting there, and I said, and I was really intently listening to everything he said, because it was fascinating, and the only way I can learn is to listen. So after he spoke, I thought, and I said, so what you're really saying is blankety, blankety, blank, blank. And he looked at me and he said, Kevin, you have the ungodly ability to take a complicated concept and just simplify it. I've never seen anything like that. That's exactly what I was trying to say. And he goes, for that entire time. And everybody at the table laughed. I said, well, you should hire me as your editor. We just giggled. That is an art and a skill, and it also is a sign of intelligence. Einstein called it crunching, where he would take a concept that he would try to explain it, and sometimes it would be 1,000 pages. And then he would think about it, and then he would write it again and explain it. It would go down to 500 pages. Then he'd think about it, then he'd write it again, and then he kept crunching it down to simpler terms. This showed his intelligence, because he was capable of taking what initially was an incredibly long, complicated concept and crunching it down in very simple terms. Really powerful. Next, intelligent people, honestly, after reading their own work, debates, talks, podcasts, discussions, arguments, etc., notice that they often use conditions in their sentences that are not absolute. So intelligent people, if you analyze the communication, whether it's a podcast, a book, or whatever, highly intelligent people don't talk in absolutes. There's a saying that says, only a fool talks in absolutes. Intelligent people use things like, I think, it may be, many times, oftentimes, usually, often, it's possible, it could be, if, perhaps, it appears, it seems. Think about that. Now, unless somebody's doing a podcast for dramatic effect and you're trying to shock somebody or push somebody's button, do you throw this absolute out there? Because that'll automatically rattle somebody because they know there's no such thing as the absolute. But intelligent people generally, when they're having a conversation, use words like, well, it appears based on the information I have. So if you hear somebody start a sentence like, Joe, it appears based on the information I reviewed so far that's an intelligent person. That's an intelligent person speaking. Somebody with a very high IQ. That's an indicator of their high intelligence. And lastly, intelligent people ask really good questions and listen more than they talk. Well, that's not last. I got a few more. Do you ask questions or do you talk mostly? And when someone's talking, are you listening to them or are you going... It's like you're waiting for them to finish so you can jump in. Do you cut people off mid-sentence? Think about it. Intelligent people listen more than they talk. You have two ears and one mouth. Use them proportionally. Next, intelligent people is someone who can understand someone's opposing view without having to agree with it or get angry over it. Some of you are going, oh no, I guess I'm not that intelligent. I know, you get really irritated. And I love pushing your buttons to get you really mad. Some of you haven't figured it out yet. This show, for example, is designed as my role in this incarnation is. It's to push your buttons. It's to stimulate you. It's to, in many cases, get you irritated. Not just get you to agree with everything I'm saying. I do things specifically and on purpose to get you annoyed and piss you off, because if that happens, that means a samskara or an energetic imprint that's in your field is keying in, it's activating, it's being stimulated. I'm pushing one of your buttons. I'm triggering some energy that is trapped in your field that's not helping you. It's not empowering you. It's reducing your ability to be a cause of your environment. So I want to stimulate that and free you of this. Your liberation, your freedom on all levels and all dimensions is what I'm here for, not to get you to like me. So some of you haven't figured that out yet, especially when it's stimulated. You don't even think, because you're so keyed in, things are stimulated and you're so triggered. I bring things to surface so powerfully that you can't even see straight. But here's the point. An intelligent person is somebody that can understand opposing views. Hey, many of you are left-wing liberals that hate Trump. Well, if you're so smart, how come you can't understand somebody's opposing view? How can you can't understand somebody who's voting for Trump? Why can't you understand it? You don't have to agree with it, but you don't have to get angry over it either. That's the sign of intelligence. Look, if you're a left-wing liberal, and I have friends of mine who are left-wing liberals. I was with my friend John today. He was on this show from Beverly Hills, and he says, a Trump supporter thinks that Trump is going to make the country safer. I disagree with that. I don't think he's going to make the country safer, but at least they think he will. They think he's going to shut down the border. They think that people coming across the southern border are criminals. And my friend, being a left-wing liberal, says, I don't think that's true. But they think that's the case, so I can understand their viewpoint. I mean, so he understands. He doesn't agree. He doesn't get angry over it. He doesn't hate them. He can still sit down and have dinner with them and have a stimulating conversation without just calling people names. He can debate the policies of the Democrats versus the Republicans, the left versus the right. He can challenge and debate those policies, how things would be different under one administration over another, without getting angry and without necessarily agreeing. That's a sign of intelligence. So can you understand someone's opposing view without having to agree with it or get angry over it? Next, intelligent people feel challenged rather than threatened by new things, problems, and ideas. Intelligent people don't feel threatened by doing something different or new technology or a change. They don't feel threatened. They feel challenged. They may not agree with it, but they feel challenged with a new idea, a new way of thinking, a new proposition, new technology. They're challenged. They're not threatened. There's a huge difference there. And finally, this is the final one. Intelligent people don't continually need to tell people how intelligent they are. They know. They have a confidence level. This is also the sign of an enlightened person. If you are around somebody and they're telling you how, and I've been around people all the time, and they always say, I'm in bliss, I'm in bliss, I'm in bliss. They always say, every time I meet them, hey, how are you? I'm in bliss, I'm in bliss. Life is beautiful, I'm in bliss, I'm in bliss. Okay, you think you are, I understand that. But if you're truly somebody who's past the veil, with the very rare exception of somebody whose public persona and mission in life is to be a public guru, and that's very, very rare. But even in those cases, somebody who is spiritually enlightened doesn't share this with others because there's nothing to share. It's an inner knowingness, and they understand that they can't try to make a pig sing. They can't explain something to somebody's mind that's beyond their mind. They're never going to understand it anyways. And why do they need to convince this person? Anytime you're trying to convince somebody of your way of thinking, specifically on a religious issue or a political issue, you have doubt. It shows your lack of confidence in yourself, your lack of self-esteem, your lack of a positive self-image, and your lack of intelligence. Think about it. Doesn't mean you won't share something, but the need to convert somebody into your way of thinking, to your political party, your religious belief, or whatever, this shows lack of intelligence, lack of self-confidence. So think about those things. I mean, you think about yourself. Number one, forget other people. Sure, you can say, I'm going to now look at other people, and this will be my subtle cues to determine whether they're intelligent or not. Okay, that's fine. Subtle cues, but focus on yourself and raise your level of intelligence. Do you know you can increase your intelligence? You can increase your brain power. Matter of fact, the next couple of shows, I am going to be talking about ways to increase your brain power, to increase your focus and concentration and memory ability, increase your ability to concentrate. Oh, there's a little gecko up there on the walking around. Hello, Mr. Gecko. Uh-oh, now I'm revealing kind of where I am, because where we are, there are geckos. Yeah, no, they're harmless. You don't have to worry about them. They'll be screaming, completely harmless. He's eating a bug. Oh, good. See, he's not only harmless, but he's eating those harmful bugs. The gecko or a lizard or whatever he is. All right. So I am going to be talking about that in the next upcoming shows, brain power. So make sure you watch all the shows coming up. In September or October, we're starting 5 days a week. Monday and Wednesday, we will be on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. And also on Sunday, I'll be doing a spiritual show on all of those platforms. And then on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, I will be on Rumble only. That's where I'm going to be revealing stuff that will get me banned from those other platforms. Now, the reason I'm doing this is I'm told that if you go 5 days a week, and we're going to go 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, plus the spiritual show on Sunday, that is a way to help increase the number of subscribers and the number of views. I'm giving it to the end of the year, and unless we see a substantial increase in the number of views and the number of subscribers, then I am going to fold the show. And the reason is I don't have to do this. I do not get paid to do this. I do not make 1 penny from doing the show. There's some ads that run on the show. It's minimal. That money does not go to me. It goes into the company, pays for the overheads, and then goes directly to the government. Any money that we get from the show in any form, any revenue that's generated, none of it goes to me. I am ordered by the court to live on $3,750 a month. That's it. That's all I live on. So any other revenue that comes in pays the overheads, and any overage goes to pay the lawyers or goes to pay the government. So I don't get paid to do this. Therefore, unless those numbers are really substantially higher, I will be ending the show by the end of the year. And we'll sign off. Why do I tell you that? I tell you that because you have a big role here if you want me to continue to do the show. It is a huge amount of work, and I'm happy to do it. The response people give me about how the show is positively impacting your life is just astronomical. So I'm more than happy to do it. But I won't continue to do it unless the numbers get up, unless you do your part. And it's free. All you have to do is subscribe to all of the platforms. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Rumble, and YouTube and subscribe. That's number one. Next, share the videos. And you can spend an hour. You can go online, click on a video, and share it with everybody you know. Share it on your Facebook, on your TikTok, on your X, on your Instagram. Share the video. Share the show. On all your social platforms, email it to everybody in your email list. Do all the things you can do to share the show, share videos. Not just one, but multiple. You can leave comments. You can comment on other people's comments. You can do other things too to help get people to watch this show and subscribe. We need to get the views up. We need to get the algorithm to kick in. And yeah, we know that YouTube is censoring me. So we know that they're suppressing this. There's no question about that. Because the stuff I'm saying, YouTube doesn't want people to reveal. But Rumble is helping us. I've talked to the people down at Rumble, and they're behind the show 100%. So, that's a show that you can promote as well. But YouTube is the giant. It's the Goliath, right? If we want to get tens of millions of people around the world watching this show, we have to be big on YouTube. If we're not big on YouTube, it's just not going to happen. We could be number one on Rumble, but we're not going to have 10 million people watching. Spotify we can do really well on too, and the other platforms, but still YouTube is the king. So we have to really promote it on YouTube as well as the other ones. So I'm going to encourage you to subscribe to all of the platforms: Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, hit the notification button, watch the shows, like. That's another thing you have to do. So say, I'm going to help Kevin. I'm going to spend a half an hour. I'm going to go on all these platforms and just like a bunch of videos. Share the videos with everybody you know. Share it on your social media platforms, LinkedIn, or whatever. Share. Get other people to watch, like, leave comments. That's going to help the algorithm. Lastly, and I got so much stuff here I want to talk about. I can't wait to do 5 days a week, quite frankly, because I have volumes of things I want to discuss and take phone calls and do so many more things on this show. But as you know, I am coming, I'm doing a seminar in the fall, November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, right? November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at the Chicago Palmer House Hotel, downtown Chicago. It's for the Global Information Network. It's for members in the Global Information Network only. There's going to be 7 multimillionaires there. 7 multimillionaires sharing their success secrets, how they did it and how you can do it too. It's going to be an awesome event. It's going to sell out. The ballroom has a limited number of space. We're almost 2/3, I think, close to 2/3 sold out already. You can get a free ticket to that event. That's an event that we should charge $15,000 or a lot more for a ticket to that event. I'm going to be there. I'm going to shake your hand, sign autographs, take pictures, perhaps. You can be there. You can be there live, or you can be there and watch that event virtually. If you want to make more money, this is something that's going to transform you. It is going to be a spectacular, powerful, life-changing, transformative event for all those who are there live or who are watching virtually. You get a free ticket. All you have to do is sign up and become a member in the Global Information Network for $38. That's it. So it's $38. You sign up, and as soon as you sign up, you're entitled to a free ticket. You get a member support coach who will reach out to you and say, yeah, let me show you how to register so you can get your ticket. You can either go live or you can get it virtually. I would encourage you to hurry up and do that before it sells out. If you're already a member and you do have a free ticket, you have to make sure you register for that ticket, because once it's sold out, you can't go live. You can only get the virtual ticket. But just go to globalinformationnetwork.com and just sign up. It just says join now. You can or apply for membership. Just click on the button, apply for membership, fill out the form, $38, boom. You're a member, you get access to Your Wish is Your Command, you get access to a whole bunch of material, and you get a free ticket, plus a whole bunch of other benefits. Review the website, there's a whole bunch of other benefits you can get to as well. Just remember, the privileged elite class don't want you to succeed. They want you to think things are going really well in your life. They want you to walk around in a trance thinking that things are just fine. Things are just fine. No, things aren't fine. And unless you can actually come up with the awareness that I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, things aren't good enough, nothing's going to change. So the government wants to keep you docile. That's why they put fluoride in the water. They do a lot of other things as well to keep you docile, to make you think that everything is just okay. Once you come out of that trance and saying, no, this isn't okay. Driving down the road in Chicago is like, for me, driving on the surface of the moon. There are potholes everywhere. This is unacceptable. They want you to make, oh, that's perfectly normal. No, I lived in Switzerland. I lived in Zurich, Switzerland. It's cold there too. They have tons of snow and ice, and there's no potholes anywhere. The roads are like on a runway at an airport. They're perfect. You go to Abu Dhabi, you go to Dubai, the roads are perfect. Singapore, the roads are perfect. You go to countries, the roads are perfect. And then all of a sudden, in in countries, America, Canada, and things, we start seeing this degeneration of our standard of living and quality of life, and we're immune to it. We're blind to it. It's not as good as it used to be, and you have to get sick and tired of it. You have to say, I'm not going to put up with it. And that's the only way that you can contract the energy, focus on what you really want, and then have enough drive and motivation to go out and go after it and make it happen. And when you do, you'll love the whole process. It'll be enjoyable playing the game. And you'll love it. And then you'll start achieving things, but you'll love the process of achieving as opposed to actually acquiring things. Remember, the journey is the reward. Think about that. You have what it takes, my friends. You have everything inside you that you need. Bliss does reside inside you as well as joy, and it can bubble up 24/7. And when it does, you won't have to tell anybody that you're in bliss. You just be thankful. And you'll be feeling love all the time. I'm sending you much love, many blessings, and we'll see you next time. I'm Kevin Trudeau. This is The Kevin Trudeau Show. Everything they don't want you to know about to improve the quality of your life. See you next time.